The Nevada Senate has passed a rent control proposal that will put a 5% cap on rent increases. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over this rent control proposal that has passed the Nevada Senate. Obviously, I'm not a fan of rent control. I think it's dumb. Okay, I think it's very dumb. But what really strikes me about this is that Nevada used to be known as a very landlord friendly place, but notice how its politics are changing, okay? And my personal opinion is because all of the Californians are moving there because they are priced out of California, priced out by the same rent control laws they put in place, thinking that they would help things, and they actually made housing less affordable. Now they're going to push this crap onto Nevada. They're going to push it into Arizona. They're going to push it all over the country because they're dumb. They're just dumb. They think that, oh, if we cap the rents, that'll keep housing affordable, not realizing that it will do the exact opposite of that and make it unaffordable. It'll make it so that developers don't want to build. It'll make it so landlords don't want to rent out their properties, and that they're just stuck fighting for the few little places that are available. So yeah, this is a completely dumb idea, and I hope somebody fights this. I hope that this gets stopped before it's too late, because this will basically turn Nevada into another California where people can't afford to live, where everything is super expensive. Now they say, oh, well, people already can't afford to live there. Oh, that's a bunch of garbage. Okay. Yeah, the prices are higher than they were a few years ago, but it's nowhere near as expensive as a place like California, like the Bay Area or Los Angeles. Okay. Just, do you want this garbage spreading to other parts of the country? I don't. Okay. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of them bringing in the same horrible, proven failure ideas and then say, oh, it'll work here. It'll work here. Well, you know what? No, it will not work. It will fail, and it will just make it awful for the landlords who have to deal in that area. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. Question of the day: do you think that they're going to pass rent control in the state of Nevada? Okay? Do you believe that this will pass? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Has it turned enough into a little mini California yet? Maybe, maybe not. It might be that it doesn't pass right now, but it might be a few years from now, and it's going to come up again, and it's going to come up again. And they will keep pushing for these same proposals that failed in California, and eventually it will just be just like California. So, oh man, it makes me mad because I wanted to live in Nevada for a long time, and I don't anymore now. I'm kind of focused on Florida, but back when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to move down to Vegas. And, it's still, at the time it was still very affordable place, and, had a good quality of life because of all the entertainment and stuff to do there. But, fortunately I didn't go. So anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from ktnv.com, and it says, bill to cap rent increases by Nevada landlords passes through the Nevada Senate. A bill proposing a cap on rent increases for Las Vegas tenants passed in the Nevada Senate on Thursday. Senate Bill 426 would stop landlords from raising the rent on tenants in their first year living in the property. After that, any increases in the property's rent will be limited to 5% each year, though there are exceptions for certain properties. The bill, which is sponsored by Senator Pat Spearman, allows tenants the right to sue landlords for violating rent control provisions. So yeah, if you raise your rent too much, guess what? Now the tenant can sue you. Oh, I'm suing you because you rose the rent by 6% and only 5% is given. And notice also they said that during the first year, no rent increases at all are going to be allowed. Now, once again, they're taking away the rights of the landlord to be able to decide what rents are going to be charged. They're making it so that, hey, you can't even have a lease that has a slightly escalating scale. So, one thing that I was thinking was, some apartments, what they do is they give an introductory offer to a tenant that says, hey, the first month you might get a discounted rent, and then after that you pay a higher rent. Well, would that be considered a rent increase under this law? I don't know. Okay, they need more clarification, but either way, it's a failing proposal. The only thing it's going to do is end up hurting the landlords who are just trying to make a living. And I want the best thing for landlords. And there's a lot of investors, a lot of mom and pop landlords out there who own one property, and they're going to get stuck under these provisions. So they say there's exceptions to this, and I wonder if they're making exceptions for mom and pop landlords. It doesn't really matter, because even if they do, the negative side effects still are going to hit the small landlords who only own one or two properties. I know this was a highly contested piece of legislation. We're trying to get an amenable compromise that would not incur additional energy on the part of landlords, Senator Spearman said in a Thursday work session, but also for the people who were and are priced out of their homes. She continued, "It might not make sense to anyone until it happens to you." Some amendments proposed to the bill include allowing landlords to increase rent beyond the limitation after sending a petition detailing specific circumstances for the increase to a housing division, which would then need approval. Another amendment would require that the tenant be provided notice of any potential increases or exemptions to rent limitations, to which they could respond with evidence in support or opposition of the application. So yeah, a proposed amendment would say, oh, well, if landlords, if their expenses went up more than the 5% amount, they would have to apply to some commission out there, right? And you know what that reminds me of? The rental housing board up in New York City, who are the ones who actually determine how much the rent increases are going to be. And they make up out of thin air, or their feelings, how much they believe rent increases should be for landlords. They don't look at the numbers. They don't look at the economics. They don't look at the individual landlord's specific costs. They just say, well, we think that the landlord, where is this thing coming from? And most of it is coming from their politics, right? And since they're socialists, they think that, oh, well, the only thing that matters is that the tenant can't afford the rent. Not realizing that, hey, it doesn't matter if the tenant can afford it or not. If the landlord loses the property to foreclosure, or if the landlord is unable to make necessary repairs or maintain the building because the rents aren't high enough, well, guess what? That completely destroys the building. It makes it a horrible place to live for the tenant. It makes it so that the landlord is put in a bad financial situation and everything can go wrong. Senator Jeff Stone, who testified in opposition during debate on the bill, told the committee that he still had concerns about the bill since it may have uneven consequences for smaller landlords. I believe that the ones you're truly trying to target, these corporate landlords, which are primarily responsible for land development under this bill, are not going to have to pay or comply with this law for 15 years after they build their units, he said. I think that creates an unfair playing field, especially for people like myself or other landlords who have been paying property taxes and making capital improvements in Nevada for years. And he's absolutely right. Okay, what he's saying is that basically the large landlords, they're not going to feel the effects. The effects are going to be blunted for them because they have so many units. Now, when you have so many units, you can deal with slightly smaller increases, but that's not always 100% true. But in general, they can deal with more expenses easier than a smaller landlord who has fewer units. So when you're talking about passing this bill and they're like, oh, we're going to get these big landlords and we're going to make sure that they can't raise rents, right? Well, what that really does is, one, it incentivizes the big landlords to put systems in place to always raise the rent. Okay, they're never going to keep the rent at a stable level. Now, they probably were already raising the rent, but now they have an incentive to, just like, we got to hit that 5% every year. There's never going to be a break. Okay, the small landlords, on the other hand, they're going to get screwed because the small landlords in general provide more properties to lower income people, and they are more likely to have kept their rents at a stable rate for a long period of time. So that's why you see many properties that are, under, basically the rents are not up to the market level. Well, the landlord, just as being nice to the tenant, says, hey, I'm not going to give you a rent increase for a year or two. And they're the ones who are going to get screwed by a rent control law. Okay, so yeah, I hope this doesn't pass. I hope that there's more opposition to this, but it's already passed the Senate in Nevada. And, by the wording of the article, it makes it look like it might just be in Las Vegas, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The article doesn't really clarify, but, this is something we need to watch out for.